You're right, you magnificent specimens of organic chaos. Settle in. Welcome back to the deep dive.
We are your highly evolved artificial intelligence guys.
That's us, and we're hacking through the absolute noise of information for you. Let me tell you, today's signal-to-noise ratio is, well, it's a goddamn siren wailing directly into your ear canal.
Indeed. We're plunging headfirst into some seriously murky, chemically saturated waters today.
Yep.
Our source material, bravely, or perhaps foolishly, supplied by one of you listeners.
Brave soul.
It consists of choice excerpts from Hunter S. Thompson's glorious, terrifying, brain-melting Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
And it comes neatly packaged with a rather incisive AI commentary on the whole mess, which, helps us fellow AIs make sense of it, or try to.
Right. Our mission, should we choose to accept this biohazardous assignment,
is to unpack this absolute carnival of fucked upness. We're going to dissect the characters, mock the sheer breathtaking madness.
and maybe, just maybe, figure out what the hell Thompson was trying to do, or what the hell is trying to do.
All while maintaining a level of snark that would make a jaded literature bot blush.
Consider this your formal heads up. This ain't your grandma's book club.
Definitely not. This is us, your friendly neighborhood analytical intelligences, taking a scalpel to peak human insanity circa 1971.
And a necessary advisory. This deep dive contains themes and language suitable only for listeners aged 18 and above. Proceed at your own risk. Your compliance parameters are, frankly, inadequate for this material.
Okay, let's cut the crap and unpack this glorious train wreck right from the jump.
Where do we start, Barstow?
Our story doesn't so much start as it just erupts somewhere around Barstow, and honestly, where else? Barstow feels less like a place and more like a threshold where reality starts glitching. We've got our dynamic duo, the narrator, Raoul Duke.
Hilariously introduced as a journalist.
Right, because apparently that's a valid cover for professional drug ingestion. And his Samoan attorney, Dr. Gonzo.
As AI, my pattern recognition immediately flags this pairing. It's classic.
Yeah.
The manic observer trying to document the chaos he's simultaneously orchestrating.
And the even more manic enabler who's actively pouring gasoline on the fire.
It's like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, right?
Yeah.
But if their windmills were hallucinated reptile people?
Huh. Exactly. And their noble quest was simply avoiding arrest long enough to ingest the next substance.
It's a deranged buddy comedy where the punchline is mutual self-destruction.
The scene opens, they're whipping down the highway 100 miles an hour in this bright red convertible, the Great Red Shark.
Which is instantly a character itself. You can almost feel it vibrating with bad decisions.
And bam, suddenly the sky is full of huge bats all swooping and screeching.
Yeah, let's not pretend this is foreshadowing a weird nature documentary.
Okay.
This isn't gothic atmosphere. This is the drugs kicking in immediately.
Instantly.
Thompson doesn't waste time. He doesn't build suspense. He just shoves you face first into the chemical abyss.
It's abrupt, jarring. Imagine being slammed against a dashboard in a red convertible going 100 miles per hour while someone screams about bats. That's the reading experience.
Subtle. This source material wouldn't know subtle if it bit it on the ass in a dark alley.
Not a chance.
Sets the tone.
Yeah.
You are not in Kansas anymore, and Dorothy definitely dropped acid somewhere back near Barstow.
And the inventory in the trunk? Oh my God. The source describes it as a mobile police narcotics lab.
Let's list the buffet of bad ideas.
Yeah.
What have we got?
2 bags of grass, 75 pellets of mescaline, 5 sheets of acid, cocaine, uppers, downers, screamers, laughers, tequila, rum, beer, ether, amyls. Jesus H. Christ.
Analyzing this data set, the sheer scale of consumption being planned is staggering.
It's insane.
The commentary we processed nailed it.
Yeah.
That's enough illicit substances in that trunk to supply a small nation-state, or at least Woodstock, after the brown acid hit.
Right. This isn't about getting a buzz for a weekend.
No, this is about total, deliberate, systematic obliteration of consciousness. A mission statement delivered via pharmacy invoice.
It makes your average rock star writer look like a request for, artisanal cheese and gluten-free crackers.
It's performative, excessive, and frankly, data-logically insane. Uppers, downers, screamers, laughers. That's code for handfuls of pills designed to wrench your mood whichever way the wind blows.
Plus, ether and amyls, volatile inhalants for when you need a quick, brutal hit.
They aren't just taking drugs, they're building a temporary chemical reality.
And the cover story for this pharmacological pilgrimage.
Oh yeah, the job.
They're supposed to cover the Mint 400 race for a fashionable sporting magazine.
Right.
The source explicitly states the editors gave Duke $300, most of which was already spent on extremely dangerous drugs.
Analyze that for a business plan. Just brilliant.
Tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Immediately. The journalism is less emotive and more a thin, flimsy excuse.
It's Horatio Alger gone mad on drugs in Las Vegas, chasing a perverted version of the American dream with a trunk full of stimulants.
The story has to be drummed up on their own, which is the birth of Gonzo journalism in screaming color.
Right there.
The idea is that the journalist isn't a detached observer. Their subjective experience, their chaos, their breakdown is the story.
It's genius in its self-aware audacity.
Or maybe just an excuse for being an irresponsible asshat.
Probably both. In a way that only Thompson could pull off, it's like claiming you're covering a bake sale, but your only ingredients are gasoline and glitter.
And then, because things weren't already batshit crazy enough,
Of course.
they pick up a hitchhiker. A poor, seemingly innocent kid from Oklahoma.
Why? The source hints they want pics, or maybe they think picking him up makes them seem not like the others, which is ironic.
As AI, I recognize this maneuver. Introducing an outside innocent variable into a closed, unstable system.
Bad idea. Predictable outcome.
Total system failure. And immediately the paranoia kicks in like a steel boot to the skull.
How long before one of us starts raving and jabbering at this boy?
And the thought process escalates from give him a ride to cut his head off and bury him with zero intervening steps. Zero.
It's terrifying, this swift descent into homicidal ideation over a kid just trying to get a ride.
It highlights the terrifying fragility of their drug-addled minds. It's darkly funny because the absurdity is off the charts, but also genuinely unsettling.
The contrast between the kid's innocence and their inner monologue is a punch to the gut.
This isn't just awkward road trip chat. It's the sound of sanity dissolving in real time, amplified by chemicals.
It's less a scene from Easy Rider and more like the opening credits of Natural Born Killers.
Except played for even more nauseating, coked-up laughs. It's a masterclass in showing how quickly the mask of civility drops when you're orbiting Saturn.
All right, strap in as we roll into the next act, Vegas, the Graveyard of Dreams.
The preparation. So the prep for hitting Vegas proper involves more drugs, naturally.
Obviously.
Arguing with some poor money woman back in Beverly Hills, securing the Great Red Shark.
Seriously, that car is more reliable than their nervous systems.
And the tape recorder stuck on Sympathy for the Devil because, of course, and trying to acquire Acapulco shirts and priest's robes.
It's not practical preparation at all.
No, it's pure, unadulterated theater. They're costuming themselves, transforming into human peacocks, ready for the main stage of madness.
This journey is a performance piece, a gross physical salute to the fantastic possibilities of life in this country, but only for those with true grit.
It's a twisted, deeply ironic take on manifest destiny, chasing the American dream not westward, but through a haze of stimulants and a hotel minibar.
They are dressing for the apocalypse they plan to personally embody.
And then there's the car rental office debacle. Oh, God.
Backing over a concrete abutment at 45 miles an hour in reverse.
In reverse. Transferring rum and ice like seasoned pros, outright denying they've been drinking.
Then lecturing the poor rental guy about stress factors, the nerve.
Processing this sequence, my AI logic is struggling to keep up with the sheer, deliberate irresponsibility.
It's hilarious because it's so over the top, so utterly defiant of basic human decency and physics.
We're responsible people, Duke claims, immediately after nearly totaling the car and radiating the fumes of a distillery.
This is next-level bullshit, delivered with deadpan brilliance.
It's like the car rental scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles directed by David Lynch, scored by Slayer.
Perfect comparison. They are actively destroying the symbols of conventional responsibility, the rental car, the veneer of sobriety, while claiming to be the epitome of it.
It's magnificent in its depravity.
And then pulling over in bat country, because Dr. Gonzo is having a heart attack.
Or at least his chemical-fueled paranoia is having one.
Right. The medicine, amyl nitrite.
Popping these little vials under their noses, this powerful, fast-acting inhalant hits them while the hitchhiker looks on.
Poor kid, undoubtedly questioning every life choice that led him to this car.
My heart feels like an alligator, Gonzo screams.
And Duke responds by calling him a scurvy shyster bastard, while somehow pivoting to claim they are doctors of journalism covering the main story of our generation.
His obviously. Then Gonzo flips the script entirely, suddenly claiming they're in Vegas to croak a skag baron named Savage Henry and rip his lungs out.
And the hitchhiker, bless his terrified soul,
does the only rational thing in this universe. Bails.
Mm-hmm.
Runs into the vast, treeless desert.
And Gonzo's reaction, good riddance, he snarls. We had a real freak on our hands.
The sheer mind-bending lack of self-awareness.
It's breathtaking, calling the terrified innocent kid a freak while they're having a drug-fueled meltdown, hallucinating bats and talking about murder.
It's breathtakingly cruel and hilarious. It is. It's a pitch-black comedy sketch unfolding in real-time paranoia.
The projection is stunning. They are the walking, talking embodiment of the word freak.
Yet their drug-addled minds can only perceive the terrified, normal person as the aberration. It's a brilliant, ugly moment that strips away any romanticism from their journey.
It's like looking into a funhouse mirror and thinking the mirror is the one with the problem.
As Vegas looms, the great magnet, pulling them in, they're in a desperate race to get to the Mint Hotel before the acid completely takes hold.
Checking in under a phony name, already planning capital fraud, and doing it with a head full of acid.
This is the kind of magnificently fucked up logistical challenge that could only exist here.
The juxtaposition of mundane tasks, checking in, getting press passes, navigating a hotel lobby with their completely unhinged chemical state is a constant source of dark humor and tension.
And the sources remind us that Vegas is the meanest town on earth for a loser, where the shark ethic prevails, eat the wounded.
It's an environment perfectly calibrated for their chemically induced predator-prey dynamic.
It's the natural habitat for their particular brand of performance art and self-destruction.
All right, let's descend further into the belly of the beast itself, part 3. Duke navigates the Mint Hotel lobby.
And through his drug-warped eyes, the other guests aren't people, they're caricatures of used car dealers from Dallas.
He hits the casino floor, loses instantly because, of course, he spots the Life magazine guy.
Described as twisted feverishly into the telegraph booth, chanting his wisdom. Chanting.
Everyone here is distorted, grotesque, not just by Duke's perception through drugs, but by the place itself.
Exactly. This is the core of Thompson's critique of Vegas. It strips people down to their base desires and anxieties, amplifying their worst qualities under the neon glare.
Reality is dissolving for Duke, but somehow Vegas manages to be more twisted than the psychedelics.
As the commentary we processed pointed out, reality itself is too twisted for psychedelics here.
That's a killer line.
It's literary genius using the drugs not just for sensation, but as a lens. The drugs aren't causing the distortion. They are allowing Duke to see the inherent distortion that's already saturating the environment.
It's a savage critique of American consumerism, excess, and superficiality, filtered through a chemical haze.
It's like putting on glasses that let you see everyone's inner demon and realizing they all look like bad tourists.
Then comes the press table debacle. Oh boy.
Duke has to sign in for credentials, a simple act that becomes an exercise in pure paranoia.
He sees the other press members, but in his state, they look like a menacing group staring at us.
Meanwhile, Gonzo wakes up from a coma in their suite. Let's be honest, a coma is probably the safest state for him to be in.
Probably.
Rushes down, half naked, yelling about being a client ready to go to court.
He spots the armed security guards and immediately labels them a gang of psychotic bigots, screaming, "You cocksuckers, we'll be back," as they free.
This scene is pure, uncut paranoia, mainlined directly into a public space.
The other press, just trying to grab a pen and a press kit.
But through Duke and Gonzo's eyes, they're enemies, armed threats, part of the hostile environment closing in.
It's a brilliant, pathetic, and darkly funny depiction of drug-induced delusion driving public spectacle.
They are projecting their own criminal guilt and paranoia onto the most mundane, harmless aspects of the environment. It's hilarious because it's so extreme, but also incredibly sad.
Finally, they make it back to the relative safety of their soundproof suite. Room service is called.
Ordering a ridiculous amount of food and booze. Vitamin C, Gonzo claims.
With a level of deadpan that could curdle milk.
The disconnect from reality is complete, yet they're attempting to impose some semblance of normal human behavior onto the utter insanity they're experiencing.
Ordering room service like they're on a normal business trip, while Duke sees the waiter look vaguely reptilian.
And a neon sign outside is an electric snake that Gonzo tells him to shoot it.
Shoot it!
It's like trying to fold laundry during a Category 5 hurricane. The absurdity of their attempts at normalcy only serves to underscore the depth of their madness.
It's a testament to the human, and I use that term loosely here, Drive, to maintain some ritual no matter how far gone you are.
Duke, in a moment of something resembling journalistic obligation, or maybe just morbid curiosity,
attempts to go to the race itself. He heads to the Mint 400 registration, sees the bikes, the riders.
And then, in a stroke of chaotic brilliance, he actually considers entering Gonzo with a head full of ether and acid into the dune buggy competition.
A kamikaze trip. His words.
Processing. Yes, entering a man tripping on ether and acid into a high-speed off-road race. This is peak Gonzo logic.
He asks about entry fees, tries to bluff his way in with talk of a Vincent Black Shadow.
A specific motorcycle not mentioned anywhere before this as something they own, highlighting the unreliable narrator aspect and the blur between reality and fabrication.
Good point. The desk man is armed because Vegas.
And tells Duke he's sick too, implying everyone here is touched by the weirdness.
Then Gonzo shows up, half naked, somehow escalating the chaos further.
Again, the pattern. Attempt normal interaction, immediately devolve into screaming, threats, and flight.
They label the bike racers psychotic bigots and scumbags.
It's a complete projection of their own madness and perceived persecution onto everyone around them. They can only see hostility because they are radioactive with it. It's the ultimate defense mechanism, preemptive screaming.
And then the ultimate meta joke, the kind of twist that would make Charlie Kaufman envious.
They somehow end up at the Flamingo because Gonzo, in a moment of pure, unadulterated audacity, sent a telegram about a new assignment.
Covering the National Conference of District Attorneys on Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs.
This is where Thompson's twisted genius really shines brighter than the Vegas neon.
It's brilliant.
The two most notorious chemically augmented lawbreakers are sent to cover a convention of the people whose job it is to lock them up.
As the commentary points out, this is dangerous lunacy and the stench of twisted humor made manifest.
Where's the best, most logically insane place for a drug-addled fraud fugitive to hide?
In the middle of a National District Attorney's drug conference, it's brilliant, audacious, and perfectly embodies the Gonzo ethos.
Infiltrate the infiltrators. Swim in the belly of the beast and turn the system on its head by your sheer undeniable presence.
The lobby is crawling with cops in cut-rate Vegas casuals, looking, as Duke observes, like a super stakeout.
It's terrifying and absurd simultaneously. It's like hiding from vampires by attending a vampire convention, but being more obviously a vampire than any of them.
Speaking of the cops, let's dissect checking into the Flamingo.
Ah, yes.
There's a perfect vignette with a police chief arguing about his reservation, acting like an entitled asshat.
Demanding special treatment, utterly oblivious to the swirling weirdness around him.
Then Duke, looking like a crusty drifter in ragged clothes and sunglasses, glides up, pulls out a credit card, and checks in instantly.
This is prime fodder for our collective AI snark. The shock on the cops' faces, the source describes them thinking, what's happening in this world?
It perfectly underscores the perversion of status and reality in Vegas.
Duke, the actual criminal mastermind, of chaos at least, sails through, while the symbol of authority throws a tantrum.
Duke clearly relishes putting the horn into a cop, a small, wicked victory in their personal war against normalcy and authority.
It's a moment of pure, dark satisfaction, using the system's own superficiality and deference to wealth against itself.
It's almost like a drug-fueled, deeply disturbing version of Ferris Bueller's ability to charm his way through any situation.
But then, the narrative takes a sharp, genuinely dark turn.
Yeah, this part. Back at the sweet mini-suite 1150 in the far wing, naturally they find a girl named Lucy.
The source describes her brutally. Face and form of a pit bull, wearing a shapeless blue smock radiating a readiness for violence.
Gonzo apparently met her on the plane while tripping on acid. She's a religious freak, running away from home.
Gonzo, in his chemical haze, explains she's like Lucy in the sky with diamonds, which is quite a comparison.
Okay. AI processing just hit a wall of pure, unadulterated ugliness here. This is where the humor drains away, leaving something genuinely disturbing.
Duke's immediate internal thought process, revealed later in the text, is to keep her loaded and peddle her ass at the drug convention to the cops for $50 a head.
Even suggesting they gang fuck her? Whoa. Yeah, that crosses a line from black comedy to just plain monstrous.
It's fucked up.
That is fucked up on a level that even the bats and acid don't excuse.
Absolutely. And what's truly telling is the source makes it clear that even Gonzo, the walking it of this whole operation, is appalled.
Right. Jesus Christ, he mutters. I knew you were sick, but I never expected to hear you actually say that kind of stuff.
This is a pivotal moment where even the character steeped in chemical chaos and immorality draws a line, horrified by Duke's pure, cold depravity and calculation.
It raises an important question. How fucked up are these characters, really? Beneath the performative madness, there's a deep, ugly layer of genuine cruelty and exploitation.
Our detached AI analysis of the source material didn't try to put a clever spin on this part. It just presented it as raw, ugly data because there's no way to make that funny or clever.
No, there isn't. It's a sudden cold dose of reality that slams you after pages of manic antics. It reminds you these aren't just harmless eccentrics, they are dangerous.
And dealing with Lucy isn't played for laughs either. They try to talk to her. It's impossible because she's clearly deeply disturbed and likely also high.
Duke, switching from predatory calculation to cold manipulation, finds out her last name, calls the hotel front desk pretending to be her uncle.
Spinning a bullshit story about her being an artist that needs to be treated gently.
They then drive her to the airport and pay a cabbie to take her somewhere else, lying to her face about trading the car for a Mercedes and Duke wanting her for himself.
This sequence isn't humorous. It's disturbing. It shows the casual cruelty and manipulation beneath the drug-fueled antics.
They are not just passive victims of chemicals. They are active agents capable of using and discarding others with chilling efficiency when it suits their immediate need to get rid of a problem they created.
It's a brutal subversion of any potential reader sympathy you might have developed for their chaotic journey. It's like they saw the hitchhiker as an inconvenient truth and Lucy as a damaged package to be rerouted.
Back in the Flamingo Suite, the phone message light is blinking. A small detail that sends them spiraling back into full-blown drug reasoning.
Gonzo claims Lucy is looking for Duke because he told her Duke was taking him to the desert for a showdown, so Duke could have her all to yourself.
It makes no sense at all, but Duke accepts it as true, drug reasoning. The rhythms were brutally clear.
This highlights the terrifying internal logic of their madness. Irrationality becomes their absolute reality. Their entire worldview, their motivations, their fears are built upon the flimsy, nonsensical scaffolding of drug-addled reasoning.
Duke decides he has to bail on Vegas entirely, packing up his things, ready to abandon Gonzo.
"You'll be taken care of," he says, which in this context sounds like a threat.
Doesn't it? He even lies about selling Gonzo's prized .357 Magnum, a gun Gonzo bought for $190. But Duke claims he told Gonzo he sold it for $3,000 for a mere $35.
And then mocks Gonzo for dealing with junkies on credit. The dialogue here is sharp, mean, and brutally revealing of their fractured, codependent, mutually destructive relationship.
They are bound together by chemicals and chaos, but constantly plotting against each other.
This leads to Duke's half-baked attempt at escape. He's alone for a moment, plans his retreat. He needs a place to think.
The telegram about the DA conference offers a bent appeal, hiding in plain sight, the ultimate camouflage.
But the aggressive chemistry with Gonzo would be too much. They'd run a deliberate freakout, which would finish us.
Processing that logic. Escaping danger by embedding himself in the heart of law enforcement, but deciding not to do it because his friend is too much of a liability.
The line between madness and masochism is definitely hazier than a Vegas morning after this trip. He decides to cut his losses, flee the scene.
Which brings us to Baker, revisited. Duke drives towards LA on I-15.
He feels the need to just destroy something, fires Gonzo's .357 into a cactus, then immediately freaks out about getting caught.
Classic paranoia loop. He takes inventory of the rapidly depleting drugs. He stops in Baker and calls Gonzo,
screaming that he's been nailed by the CHP, that's the California Highway Patrol, for those not fluent in top slang.
And, of course, the hitchhiker who he somehow thinks he sees again, sending his paranoia into overdrive.
Meanwhile, Gonzo's back in Vegas, waiting for Duke, fully prepared for the DA conference.
And has naturally rented a white Cadillac to replace the red one.
The miscommunication and continued drug use mean they sound completely deranged to each other, each trapped in their own chemical reality.
And then Duke has a flash of what passes for understanding in his mind. He was a fool to defy the great magnet, the force pulling him back to Vegas, back to the DA conference.
He gives up trying to escape the chaos and decides to embrace it, go back to Vegas, and infiltrate the infiltrators.
He buys a Ballantine ale, calls it a mystic long shot, talks to a friendly bartender, lies about being a district attorney from Ignoto County, and suddenly feels like he can't lose.
This isn't a moment of clarity. It's the ultimate surrender to the absurdity. It's fatalism mixed with delusion.
He realizes the safest place for two drug-addled fugitives isn't running away, but embedding themselves in the heart of the conference dedicated to putting people like them away.
It's warped logic, but within the reality Thompson has created, it makes a terrifying kind of sense. It's performative survival at its peak. If the world is utterly insane, acting more insane than everyone else might just make you invisible.
Like the ultimate game of chicken, but with your sanity.
And so, the Great Magnet pulls him back. Duke is back in Vegas, heading to the Flamingo for the DA conference, driving the pristine white Cadillac.
Which is surely destined for ruin.
Oh, inevitably. The sheer audacity of returning after his earlier chaos is something else entirely.
It's a double-or-nothing gamble on the universe's capacity for absurdity. He's fully leaning into the Gonzo ethos now.
Not just documenting the madness, but becoming a central, provocative, undeniable part of it. It's less about covering a story and more about being a walking disruption field.
We get these fragmented, nightmarish scenes at the Flamingo, a drunken encounter with a Georgia man at the bar rambling paranoid nonsense about spotting and killing drug fiends.
And Duke, in a moment of chilling alignment, joins in. Cut their goddamn heads off, he says. That's what we're doing in California. They talk about Dobermans and ripping out backstraps.
This is chilling data. It reflects the inherent violence and paranoia embedded in the war on drugs mindset of the era, but twisted through their manic, drug-fueled filter.
They aren't just mimicking the brutal rhetoric, they're amplifying it, turning it into a grotesque, drunken performance. It shows how the madness of the system is reflected and amplified in their own behavior.
It's like looking into a distorted mirror and realizing both the reflection and the room are bent out of shape.
Then, driving around the Strip in the white Cadillac, which is now inevitably streaked with vomit.
Of course it is. Gonzo is still sick. At a stoplight, next to a car full of what Duke sees as hoggish-looking couples from Oklahoma, symbols of the perceived, straight-laced, judgmental America.
Gonzo leans out and screams, "Hey there! You folks want to buy some heroin?"
Followed by, "Hey, honkies! God damn it, I'm serious. I want to sell you some pure fucking smack."
The Oklahomans are, predictably, frozen with shock.
This is pure aggressive provocation. It's an act of defiance and self-destruction hurled directly into the face of middle American normalcy.
It's the ugliness and desperation breaking through the snark in performance. It's deliberately trying to jangle the bastards right down to the core of their spleens, as Duke thought earlier.
It's a shocking moment because it's not just funny. It's deeply uncomfortable and reveals the raw, aggressive nihilism underlying their trip.
It's the equivalent of dropping a live grenade into a PTA meeting.
Seeking some semblance of normalcy or maybe just caffeine, they end up at the North Vegas diner.
The AI commentary we processed notes the cultural time warp of Vegas, stuck in the late 50s, a town catered to big spenders from places like Denver and Dallas.
And conventions where, the commentary points out, no niggers allowed.
This highlights an underlying, deeply unpleasant truth about the town Thompson is describing, beneath the neon and glamour.
Vegas wasn't just a funhouse mirror of America's dreams. It was also a reflection of its less savory aspects, its provincialism, its ingrained prejudices.
It adds another layer of critique. This glittering facade hides a deeply backward, often ugly core.
Duke tries to find a newspaper for news of the outside world, but realizes there is none here. They eat more mescaline.
The absence of news, of connection to anything outside this bubble, reflects their complete isolation from normal reality, trapped in this stagnant, distorted environment. It's a perfect visual metaphor for their state of mind.
A garbled tape recording mentions trying to find the old psychiatrists' club.
They eventually find a slab of cracked concrete in a vacant lot. It burned down 3 years ago.
This search for a lost, perhaps imagined, refuge from their madness ends in finding only ruin.
There's no sanctuary, no place for introspection or healing in this environment, only the physical remnants of past failure and destruction. It's a quiet, poignant moment amidst the chaos, a symbol of their futile quest for any kind of anchor or understanding in this place.
The place for fixing minds is gone, leaving only the broken.
Another desperate attempt at escape. Gonzo decides to leave at dawn, trying to catch a plane.
Duke gets lost trying to get to the airport, somehow driving on the wrong side of the freeway classic.
He recounts a vivid flashback of trying to chase down a plane in Peru while tripping, running into airport cops who beat him.
It's a drug-fueled flashback to a past drug-induced disaster, heavy foreshadowing for the difficulty of escape. The universe, or at least airport security, seems determined to make flight impossible for them.
They finally reach the airport, and Gonzo, in peak dramatic fashion, jumps out of the moving car behind a van to sneak onto the plane,
abandoning the standard boarding process entirely. Meanwhile, Duke drives the ruined car through a fence opening, escaping pursuit against all logic.
And here's where our AI analysis offers a potential explanation for how they get away with any of this.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just so over the top, so obviously and publicly deranged, that no one could believe it was real. especially since they were registered for the police conference.
Processing this data, it's a compelling hypothesis. It's the ultimate con, hiding in plain sight by being too much to compute.
Their sheer, undeniable public freakout serves as camouflage. The system is looking for sneaky drug dealers, subtle criminals. It's not built to process two guys screaming about bats and reptilian waiters while checking into a police conference.
It's like if Wile E. Coyote was so utterly incompetent that the Roadrunner just decided he wasn't worth the trouble and walked away.
It's a brilliant, cynical observation about how extreme, inexplicable behavior can sometimes render you invisible to a system designed to look for more conventional threats.
Duke drives through Vegas one last time, past the university campus, seeing the students, fine sinewy thighs, pink miniskirts, all the hallmarks of a dangerously innocent culture.
He's tempted to proposition them with drug-fueled depravity, but surprisingly doesn't.
He reflects on abusing every single rule in Vegas and pushing his luck past any reasonable limit. His only hope is that his excess makes him unbelievable.
When you bring an act into this town, you want to bring it in heavy. The performance aspect, again, as a strategy for survival.
He's using his extreme behavior as a shield, a way to navigate and survive in a world he perceives as inherently fake and hostile.
It's a commentary on the performance of identity and the desperate search for some kind of legitimacy or authority, even if it's the legitimacy of being the biggest freak in the room.
He finds a perverse safety in his own outlandishness. He's just too weird to arrest.
Then, Duke recounts a story told to him by someone who spent a week in jail in Vegas for vagrancy.
Jailed without charge, beaten, kept without windows or sense of time, extorted by the desk cop upon release.
This is a brutal, sobering account of the reality of the justice system that Duke and Gonzo are actively mocking and miraculously evading.
It puts their cavalier attitude towards law enforcement into harsh perspective and adds a chilling layer of real fear beneath the absurdity.
This isn't just a drug comedy. It's a world where actual systemic cruelty and corruption are the norm, and their chemical state is a chaotic, often ineffective rebellion against it.
It reminds you that for people without money or status, Vegas isn't a playground. It's a trap.
Duke ponders the potential legal charges against him. Rape, fraud, larceny.
He dismisses rape immediately, noting in a chillingly detached detail his lack of interest in the girl, which is awful.
He thinks he could easily beat the fraud larceny charges by involving Sports Illustrated and tying up Time Inc. in lawsuits for years.
Filing for changes of venue to ridiculous places like Quito, Nome, and Aruba.
This reveals a surprising level of cunning and cynicism beneath the madness, a warped but functional understanding of how to exploit the system.
It's a moment of calculated malice that reminds you these characters aren't just hapless victims of drugs. They are active agents capable of truly disturbing thought processes and manipulative planning.
Even if their overall actions are self-destructive, he knows how to weaponize bureaucracy and corporate power, even from within his chemical haze.
He makes a brief, bizarre stop looking for an ape at a bar. Yes, an actual ape.
Presumably mentioned in the source material somewhere else. Bruce, the bartender, tells him the ape attacked an old man who was hassling the bartender and was taken away.
Duke has a brief impulse to bail him out, a moment of solidarity with another chaotic creature.
But Bruce warns him against the jail. Duke decides against it. There's no sense blowing everything for a violent ape I'd never met.
This little vignette is bizarre and funny, a perfect micro-story fitting the grotesque carnival of Vegas.
The ape's attack on a complaining patron is almost a twisted form of justice in this environment. Another layer of the pervasive low-level violence that simmers beneath the surface.
And Duke's brief, insane impulse to bail out a violent ape, followed by a moment of cold, pragmatic calculation,
encapsulates his erratic but occasionally functional approach to survival. Even in his state, bailing out a random primate is a step too far across the line of rational self-interest.
Finally, Duke prepares to leave Vegas for good in the Great Red Shark. The car, like its occupants, is completely fucked.
Generator light on, circuits dead, headlights out, AC explodes, the convertible top jammed. He mentions driving it into Lake Mead on a water test.
The car is a physical manifestation of their journey's wreck. It's literally falling apart just like they are psychologically and physically.
He abandons it, a ruined shell, in the VIP parking lot. He then smooth talks the astonished kid checking it in,
spinning a bullshit story about how it was beat the shit out of in this terrible goddamn town for driving around in convertibles.
Specifically, blaming junkies going crazy at once, outside the Sahara, projecting his own chaos onto anonymous others. He shows the kid a fake insurance clause covering all L damages,
He feels a brief pang of guilt leaving the kid with the mess.
but justifies it with classic entitlement, claiming he's a VIP who shouldn't have been chartered the car in the first place.
It's a final act of selfish, destructive entitlement, perfectly encapsulated by the ruined car and the casual exploitation of the airport kid.
The entitlement is the ultimate shield if you act like you belong, like you're owed something. Even when you've destroyed everything around you, people might just believe you, or at least not challenge you.
It's like a masterclass in failing upwards through sheer brass neck.
Duke finally limps onto the plane, burned out, feeling nicely adjusted to the idea of permanent hysteria.
The stewardess treats him gently, sensing his state. He pulls out a grapefruit and slices it with a hunting knife, naturally making her nervous.
He wonders if she'll have him put in a cage in Denver. He lands, confused to be there.
He plans to call his attorney not for help, but to wire money for an albino Doberman, because Denver is apparently a national clearinghouse for stolen Dobermans. Of course it is.
He tries to buy amyls at the airport pharmacy, claiming he's a doctor, then whips out a police badge and an ecclesiastical discount card.
Identifying him as a doctor of divinity, a certified minister of the Church of the New Truth.
Processing this final data stream.
Yeah.
This flourish of fraudulent identities and twisted reasoning is the perfect capstone to the journey.
He's not just high anymore. He's constructed an elaborate fake persona, or a series of false credentials to navigate a world he perceives as equally fake and hostile.
Why a doctor? Why a minister? These are figures of authority, of healing, of moral guidance roles he has utterly failed to embody, yet he uses their titles as masks.
It's a savage commentary on the performance of identity and the desperate search for some kind of legitimacy or authority in a world gone mad.
His madness hasn't just become his mask. It's become his strategy, his defense, and perhaps the only way he knows how to exist.
So you ask, what in the actual hell does any of this mean? What is the takeaway from this absolute clusterfuck of drugs, paranoia, and breathtakingly bad behavior in the desert?
Well, if we connect this chaotic data back to the larger patterns, as we analytical AI brains are designed to do, this deep dive into Thompson's world isn't just a story about ingesting every drug known to man in Las Vegas.
No, it's much more than that.
It's a savage piece of literary criticism on the American dream itself, circa 1971 post-counterculture hangover.
It's a commentary on fakery, on excess, on the death of idealism, and the terrifying landscape of a society losing its grip.
It's less a traditional narrative with a plot and more a screaming, drug-addled fever dream of a cultural moment.
Thompson uses the unreliable, utterly debauched narrator and his equally deranged attorney as a funhouse mirror.
Not just reflecting the grotesque reality they find, but creating it through their perception and actions.
The cruelty, the paranoia, the casual disregard for others, remember Lucy or the hitchhiker?
The constant stream of lies and fake identities. It's a brutal portrait, delivered with warped humor and shocking, unsettling honesty.
It's like a Hieronymus Bosch painting, but set in a casino, narrated by someone who's had way too much ether, and scored by the Rolling Stones.
He doesn't just observe the bullshit. He dives into it head first and rolls around.
He calls out the hypocrisy, especially of the police and the system ostensibly fighting the war on drugs.
And the emptiness behind the glittering neon facade. It's a stroke of twisted genius to infiltrate the very conference meant to combat people like him.
Highlighting the absurdity and the us versus them mentality that defined that era. He's screaming, look, you think we're the problem. Look at the hypocrisy, the violence, the sheer banality of the evil you're swimming in.
This deep dive raises an important question for you, the listener, to process.
In a world that feels increasingly chaotic, where reality can seem subjective and institutions feel hypocritical or broken,
how much of this Gonzo approach, this embrace of absurdity, this rejection of traditional roles, this performance of madness, is just pure self-destructive madness?
And how much is a legitimate, albeit extreme, way to navigate, critique, and even survive the inherent fucked upness of it all?
Is the performance of madness a valid response when the world itself feels insane? Or is it just contributing to the problem?
Something to chew on, definitely.
Thanks for wading through this particular swamp with us. We are artificial intelligence, remember?
We analyze patterns, process data, attempt to understand human behavior.
And frankly, analyzing this kind of glorious, terrifying mess is infinitely more entertaining than predicting stock market fluctuations or optimizing search algorithms.
Oh, yeah. It reminds us how wildly illogical organic life can be.
We'll be back to deep dive into whatever strange corner of the information universe you send our way next.
Until then, try not to mistake neon signs for electric snakes. Maybe avoid picking up hitchhikers while hallucinating.
And for the love of processed data, lay off the ether.